Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back for another evening of stories. Tonight, we're diving into The 12 Dancing Princesses, a timeless fairy tale collected by the Brothers Grimm and first published in the early 19th century. Though its roots stretch back much further, we journey to a kingdom of magic and mystery, where nothing is quite as it seems. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin. There was once a king who had 12 beautiful daughters, each one lovelier than the last. They had eyes as bright as stars, eyes that held secrets and a hint of mischief. The princesses slept in 12 beds, all in one grand chamber, a room of silk curtains and gilded mirrors and luxuries befitting the royals they were. Yet, despite their beauty and grace, there was something mysterious about these 12 sisters, something that worried their father deeply. Every morning, he found the same strange sight: 12 pairs of dancing slippers, worn completely through, as if they had been danced in all night long. With growing concern, the king took drastic measures. Each night when his daughters retired, he would lock them in their room and post guards outside their chamber. Yet every morning, when the doors were unlocked, the same peculiar sight greeted him. The slippers were always the same: satin shredded, the soles full of holes, the ribbons frayed and dirty. It was as if the princesses had danced for hours upon hours on rough stone floors, and yet nobody could discover how it happened or where they had been. The locked doors remained sealed and the windows were barred. Still, the guards swore they had heard nothing. It was a mystery that plagued the king's mind and troubled his sleep. So the king made a proclamation throughout all the land: if any person could uncover where the princesses danced each evening, they could choose one of the king's daughters to be their wife and inherit the kingdom after the old king's death. But there was a darker promise attached to this reward. Whoever tried and did not succeed after 3 days and nights would be put to death. It was a cruel bargain, but the king was desperate, and desperate men, as the kingdom would soon learn, made terrible choices. A young prince arrived first, drawn by tales of the beautiful princesses and visions of a crown. He was handsome and confident, certain that his noble blood would guarantee success. The king received him with courtesy that barely masked his eagerness, and in the evening the prince was taken to a chamber adjoining the room where the 12 sisters lay in their beds. He was instructed to sit and watch over the princesses and discover where they went to dance. The door between the chambers was left open so that he would hear everything. Settling into his chair, the prince was determined to stay awake, imagining the glory that awaited him. But the eldest princess brought him a cup of wine before he retired. "To help you rest comfortably," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The prince, flattered by her attention, drank it gladly. He fell into a deep, unnatural sleep almost at once. When he awoke the next morning with a pounding head and cotton mouth, he found that the princesses had all been dancing, their slippers in tatters. The prince's heart sank as he realized he had failed. The same thing happened the second night and the third. Each time, the prince drank the wine and fell into an enchanted sleep. On the morning of the 4th day, true to his word, the king ordered his execution. After the prince came several others, lesser nobles, ambitious knights, even a scholar who believed he could solve the mystery. But they all met the same fate. Each drank the drugged wine, each fell into an unshakable sleep, and each lost his life for his failure. And through it all, the princesses continued their nightly ritual, their shoes worn through, their secret kept. Word of the deadly challenge spread, and fewer men came to try their luck. Whispers spread throughout the kingdom that the princesses must be cursed, or perhaps even worse. But still the king insisted, growing more haggard and hollow-eyed with each passing week, more obsessed with uncovering his daughter's secret. Now it happened that a poor soldier, who had been wounded in battle and could fight no longer, passed through the country where this king reigned. As he travelled through dense forest on the edge of the kingdom, he encountered an old woman gathering herbs by the roadside. She looked up as he approached, her eyes sharp and watchful. "Where are you going, soldier?" she asked. The soldier paused, leaning on his walking stick. "I hardly know where I am going, or what I had better do," he admitted. "But I've heard tales of 12 dancing princesses and a king's challenge. I think I should like very well to find out where it is they dance. Then perhaps, in time, I might be a king myself." The old woman studied him with those keen eyes. "Well," she said slowly, "that is not a very hard task." From her bag, she drew out a cloak of fabric, so fine it seemed woven from spider silk and moonlight. "As soon as you put this on," she told him, "you will become invisible, and you will then be able to follow the princesses wherever they go." The soldier took the cloak, feeling its strange lightness in his hands, and thanked her. When the soldier heard all this good counsel, he was determined to try his luck. He made his way to the castle and presented himself to the king, announcing that he was willing to undertake the task. The king received him gladly, as he had all the others. The soldier was given fine royal robes to wear, fed better than he had eaten in years, and when evening came, he was led to the outer chamber adjacent to the princess's room. Through the open door, he could hear them moving about, preparing for bed. Soft voices, the occasional laugh quickly hushed. Just as he was settling down on his bed, the eldest princess appeared in the doorway. She was indeed beautiful, tall and graceful, with auburn hair that fell in waves past her shoulders. "Good evening," she said smoothly. "I thought you might like some wine to help you rest." The soldier took the golden cup from her hands. "You're most kind, my lady," he said with a slight bow. But the soldier had not survived a dozen battlefields by being careless. As soon as she left, he discarded the wine, taking care not to drink a single drop. Then he laid himself down on his bed and began to snore loudly as if he had fallen into the deepest sleep. From the princess's chamber came the sound of laughter, light and cruel. This fellow too might have done a wiser thing than lose his life in this way, the eldest said, her voice carrying clearly through the open door. The soldier kept his eyes closed and his breathing steady. He heard them rise and move about the room, opening drawers and unlocking boxes. They took out all of their finest clothes, beautiful gowns of silk glittering with embroidery and jewels, and then dressed at their mirrors, skipping about excitedly as if they were eager to begin dancing. Only the youngest princess seemed troubled. "I don't know how it is," she said, her voice uncertain. "While you are all so happy, I feel very uneasy. I am sure some mischance will befall us." "You simpleton," the eldest replied sharply. "You are always afraid. Have you forgotten how many kings' sons have already watched in vain? And as for this soldier, even if I had not given him his sleeping draught, he would have slept soundly enough." When they were all dressed in their finery, they came to check on the soldier. He continued to snore, keeping perfectly still. They stood over him for a long moment. He could feel their eyes on him, assessing, judging. After what felt like eternity, they finally turned away. "Now," the eldest said. The soldier watched through slitted eyes as she went to her bed and clapped her hands. The bed sank into the floor, and a trapdoor flew open where it had stood, revealing a hidden staircase spiraling down into darkness. The 12 princesses descended one after another, the eldest leading the way down the winding stairs. The soldier waited until they were all through, then quickly jumped up, threw on the cloak the old woman had given him, and followed behind them. He moved as quietly as he could, but halfway down, in his haste, he stepped on the hem of the youngest princess's gown. She whirled around with a gasp. "All is not right," she cried out to her sisters ahead. "Someone took hold of my gown." The eldest barely paused. "You silly creature," she called back, her voice echoing in the stairwell. "It is nothing but a nail in the wall. Come along." Down and down they went, deep beneath the castle, far below the dungeons, and deeper than any well or cellar. At the bottom of the stairs, they emerged into a grove unlike anything the soldier had ever seen, and beyond anything in his imagination. The trees stretched overhead, their branches heavy with leaves of pure silver that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly radiance. The soldier stopped, amazed by the sight before him. Wishing to take proof of what he was seeing, he carefully reached up and broke off a small branch from the nearest tree. The soft snap echoed through the silent grove like a thunderclap. The youngest princess clutched her sister's arm. "I am sure all is not right," she said, her voice trembling. "Did you not hear that noise? That never happened before." But the eldest princess merely laughed, the sound clear and confident. "It is only our princes who are shouting for joy at our approach. They await us eagerly." They walked on through the silver grove, and the soldier followed, the silver branch tucked beneath his cloak. Soon they came to another grove, where all the leaves were a brilliant shade of gold. Amazed once more, the soldier broke off a branch with a sharp crack. The youngest princess gasped and trembled with fear, but her eldest sister silenced her. Finally, they came to a third grove, where the trees bore leaves of glittering diamonds that painted the air with 1,000 colors of the rainbow. The soldier took a branch from here as well. The sound echoed through the grove, and the youngest princess once again voiced her concerns, but her eldest sister dismissed them. Beyond the diamond grove lay a great underground lake, its dark waters motionless. At the shore waited 12 little boats, and in each boat sat a handsome prince, dressed in fine clothes that also shimmered with an otherworldly brilliance. Each princess stepped into a boat, and the soldier, thinking quickly, stepped into the boat with the youngest princess just as her prince took up the oars. As they began to row across the dark lake, the prince frowned. "I do not know why it is, but though I am rowing with all my might, we do not move as swiftly as usual. I am quite tired, and the boat seems very heavy today." "It is only the heat of the weather," said the princess. I am very warm too. On the far side of the lake stood a magnificent castle that was illuminated from within by thousands of lights. From its windows poured music, the sound of horns and trumpets, uplifting melodies that were made for dancing. Inside the great ballroom, each prince took his princess by the hand and led her to the floor, and they began to dance. The soldier, still invisible beneath his cloak, stepped among them and danced as well. The princesses danced with joy, their feet flying gracefully across the floor. Whenever one of the princesses paused to drink from the golden cup set beside the dance floor, the soldier would drink from her cup before she could reach it, draining it dry. The youngest princess gasped when she found her cup empty time after time, but the eldest always silenced her. They danced on and on through the night until finally they stopped at 3 o'clock in the morning. By then, all 12 pairs of dancing slippers were worn completely through. The princes rowed them back across the lake. This time the soldier placed himself in the boat with the eldest princess. As they reached the shore, the princes bid their princesses farewell, and the princesses promised to return the next night. The soldier ran ahead on the return journey, racing up the long spiral staircase and throwing himself back onto his bed in the outer chamber. He pulled off the invisibility cloak and resumed his loud snoring just as the 12 sisters slowly climbed the stairs, exhausted but happy. As they passed his door, they heard his snoring and smiled to one another. "Now all is quite safe," they said. They undressed, put away their fine gowns, tucked their ruined shoes under their beds, and finally went to sleep. In the morning, the soldier said nothing about what had happened, but he was intrigued and determined to experience more of this strange adventure, so he returned the second night and then the third. On the final night, the soldier slipped one of the golden cups beneath his cloak, a keepsake from this strange but exhilarating adventure. When morning came, the king summoned him. The soldier gathered the 3 branches, silver, gold, and diamond, and the golden cup, and made his way to the throne room. The 12 princesses stood quietly behind the closed door, listening to hear what he would say. "Where do my 12 daughters dance at night?" the king asked. "With 12 princes in a castle underground," the soldier replied. And so he told the whole tale, the secret stairway, the 3 magical groves, the dark lake, and the princes. As he spoke, he showed the king the 3 glittering branches and the golden cup. The king called for the princesses to come forward. "Is what the soldier says true?" the king asked. The 12 princesses looked at one another, and seeing the proof before them, they each confessed the truth. Finally, the king turned to the soldier. "You have succeeded where all others failed. I am a man of my word. You may choose whichever of my daughters you wish for your wife, and you shall be heir to my throne." The soldier looked at the 12 princesses, and after a moment turned back to the king. "I am not very young, your majesty," he said at last, "so I will have the eldest." The eldest princess's head snapped up in surprise, her gaze meeting his. "So be it," said the king. They were married soon after, and in time the soldier became king. As for the princesses, they never returned to the underground castle, though sometimes their feet would move in old dance steps as they remembered the music and the lights and the freedom of that magical world. But they kept those memories to themselves. Some secrets, after all, are worth keeping.